But I'll
All right, you're gonna do it. Go ahead.
yeah. Hi, everybody. It is Lauren Gates with Airway Health Solutions, and I'm thrilled today to have Peter Beckwith and Greg Hyman of Mad Rose Media with us today for our Lunch and Learn. I love doing these because we get to just kind of dive in and uncover some of those subjects that are just so common and people ask me. And one of them is about airway dentistry marketing. And is it essential? So we're going to cover those 3 points today. How you can actually understand the importance of airway dentistry marketing, how you can leverage thought leadership and brand identity, and then utilize paid and unpaid SEO social media advertising strategies. So I'm thrilled to have Peter Beckwith. He is the founder of Mad Rose Media, and Greg Hyman with us today. He is the general manager. So welcome, guys. Peter, why don't you kick us off and just tell us a little bit about Mad Rose Media and how you founded the company. Just tell us the background history of it.
Sure. I'm gonna get to that in 1 second. I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell the blender story first, Lauren.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about me and Mad Rose. This is just such a great analogy for what I talk to my clients about every day. And the elevator pitch of Mad Rose is that we're an airway and holistic only digital marketing firm. And we suggest to our clients that they embrace thought leadership and brand awareness in the market to attract the kind of patients they want, who will understand what the practitioners are trying to offer and be willing to partner with them for an empowered health solution. And I started a new food plan a little while ago, and my blender broke, so I had to go get a new blender, and I went to Best Buy, and I do live in Los Angeles, so I'm sure our prices are a little inflated, but the big marquee blender was $600. I haven't bought a blender in years, so I was like, wow, that's a lot of money for a blender. I didn't do that, but I went around the corner and I found this blender for, I don't know, $175. Now, when I think of a blender, what I think of is sharp blades that could cut me and very difficult to clean. Those are my two top of mind awareness thoughts when it comes to a blender. Not too dissimilar from how people think about the dentist or the orthodontist. I'm going to go in there, lay down, open my mouth, and have pain inflicted upon me. That's what we think about when we think about dentistry and orthodontics. I think about a blender. This is going to be sharp. I might cut myself. It's going to be hard to clean. So I open the box, and my perception of this blender immediately changes completely. And this is the essence of thought leadership and brand awareness. On the right, I took a look at that picture and said, wow, I actually like to cook, and this thing is more than just a smoothie maker. And I had completely forgotten about blades and cutting and hard to clean. And then my eye went to the left, and I saw a whole bunch of different ways that I could join the conversation about a blender.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
and my point here, and I actually looked at some of the stuff, and I'm going to show it in my presentation, but this is the basics of marketing and advertising. What is the brand, and what is the thought leadership that can have me thinking differently about the brand? So the title of my talk here is if a blender can get me, you can certainly get a patient or a parent who's got a now critical health disease or a soon to be critical health disease because of an airway compromise, chronic pain related to joints, whatever the case may be that you guys talk about every week in these lunch and learns. You know the clinical much better than I do. So what the blender did is it established thought leadership there on the left by giving me access to all kinds of different places I could go to learn about what I could do with this blender and get into community with other people who are into blenders. And then it also showed me a picture, and also down in the middle there, you can see a whole bunch of recipes where it has me rethinking what blender in the kitchen is all about. And it's the same thing. That's a very similar thing to what we're going to do, what I suggest that my clients do. So if you stay to the end, if you're here live with us and you stay to the end, or if you contact Lauren after the event, she has gifted all of you with a free homepage analysis and a 1-hour strategy session with me. That's a one-on-one Zoom call that's very structured, where I'll run you through a list of questions and then follow up with an email on what I heard and some suggestions about what you may want to do in your practice right now to help market yourself and your brand a little bit better. That's not a sales call. That's a consulting session with a follow-up with specific action steps.
Peter,
To
I'm
your
just going to interrupt you too, because I forgot to mention that we do offer a free CE, but you need to also stay to the end as well to receive it. And there's no codes or anything. We just track your attendance through our Zoom software. So you'll all receive your CE credit automatically in about a week or so, along with that fabulous offer. So thank you.
You're welcome. We're gonna talk about that offer and the actual marketing technique I just used here in a minute. Anyways, my name's Peter Beckwith. I am the co-founder and managing partner at Mad Rose Media. We are an airway and holistic friendly full service digital marketing firm. What that means is very similar to those of you who are on the call. We have a set of tools in my trade, just like you have a set of tools in your trade, and we aim all of those tools and our expertise specifically towards orthodontists, dentists, and healthcare practitioners who have an airway awareness, an airway perspective, and or an airway focus. That's the niche that we're in. I'm a strong believer in dominating the smallest group of people that you possibly can to get your business up and running. And I'll talk about that with regard to the airway section of your practice in just a minute. I started with Bill Hang. Many of you know Bill. He's one of the folks that came. He's a generation ahead of Dr. Miraglia. Dr. Miraglia references him occasionally in his lectures. Bill was one of the pioneers to start to recognize that orthodontics and orthodontic interventions are affecting the airway and other parts of the structure in the upper and lower jaws. So I started with Bill in 1996. I've been in and around the airway movement ever since. I have viewed thousands of cases. I know started in the lower left looking at lateral head x-rays where we were just in very basic ways saying, okay, that airway looks like it got bigger. I know my way around a 3D CBCT scan, and I understand occlusions because you all have taught me that very well. I've interviewed hundreds of airway patients over the course of the last 27 years or so, and hundreds of practitioners. Both of my children, Lillian is on the left there. She was treated with BioBlock about almost 20 years ago at this point. Lillian was treated by Dr. Hang as well with some orthotropic friendly techniques. They both have healthy airways. Lillian, as you can see on the left there, is starting to relapse a little bit. Her teeth on the upper are tipping in. She could use some myofunctional therapy. But if any of you have an adult child who's more successful than you, like I are not going to tell her that because she'll figure that out when she wants to. All right. And then finally, I had 4 bicuspid teeth extracted in 1981. I have been on the journey of what that's like as a patient. I suffer from OSA. I wear a CPAP, and I'm going to see Jerry Simmons. Actually, not next week. I moved that to September for an in-lab sleep test. I wear a sleep image ring every night and track my data. I have TMJ, got chronic TMJ pain, and I've suffered with all the symptoms related to what happens when folks like you on the call don't get to people like me at an early stage. So I'm really passionate about what I do because I don't want to see more adults like me unnecessarily suffering. I don't consider myself to be a victim. I'm not in self-pity about that. I have access to the best practitioners in the country, and they're all doing a fantastic job taking care of me, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. I believe that, you know, whatever makes this all happen has chosen a path for me where I can actually experience what your patients are going through, and at the same time, be grateful for offering them a solution through the work I do for folks like you. So I'm very, very grateful for everything that's happened, and I wouldn't mind if I was the last person that ever had to go through what I've gone through. To your point, Lauren, one of the things, and I think you can all see my slide deck here, but instead of having Lauren read my resume at the beginning of the presentation, what I did was let you know exactly what I've done. So I went through the company I own, who my original mentor was, some of my clinical experience, some of my marketing experience with interviewing, some personal experience, some more personal experience. And then the last slide I didn't show was we currently have dozens of active airway clients, and here are some of the logos of those folks. So one of the things that I talk to my practitioners about when they're getting into how they're going to sell themselves is don't. The experience you've had and the results you've created are all the qualifications that you need. So if you've gotten to this point in the presentation and I haven't, and what I've said isn't attractive to you, or you don't find value in it, then now's the time to bounce off the webinar. I hope you don't do that. I say that a little bit tongue in cheek, but I could have had another career as an infomercial star. Greg teases me about that all the time. I'm a really good salesman. What I've learned is that if we're doing the work, and all of you are, if you're on this webinar, there isn't a lot of selling required. It's really just about sharing experience and allowing people to understand why you're so passionate about helping them and what you've done that can give them some comfort that you can, in fact, help them. And that's what I tried to do in that intro. The other kind of, I guess it is a sales technique that I used, was to stay to the end here. I said, if you stay to the end, Lauren's given you some, there's some things that Lauren has sponsored that you can get from me that are free, and they're going to have legitimate value. One of my clients, and I'm going to talk about her here in a minute, Christine Bueller, she just rebranded for Breathe for Foundational Development. She's a fantastic practitioner in Pennsylvania. One of the things that her practice does, and they pride themselves on, is they make sure everybody leaves her office with something of value. It can be anywhere from a toothbrush to a referral to a video that can teach them about what's going on in their body, to a treatment plan, to you name it. But she doesn't let anybody walk out of that office until they have more on the way out than they had on the way in. And I think that's just such a beautiful way to run a practice. And it's how Greg and I try to run our business as well. When we come into contact with anybody, we ask a few questions and we let them know we want to leave you off better than we found you, even if it's just 2 ideas, because we want you to have an impression that we are givers, not takers. And in the world of marketing, especially, maybe not so much in medicine, but there's a downside to my industry, as a downside to every industry, where there's, give me mine, give me money, sell you this, sell you that. What we have found is that if we just tell the truth about what we really believe in through appropriate thought leadership expression, and then talk about what the practice brand can do that's different than what they might find in other offices in the community, the right patients will come to you by design over time if you practice patience, which is never easy. I'm not a super patient guy. These are some of the clients that we have. One thing I did want to say, Lauren, we get a lot of questions about, should I start a division, an airway division in my practice? Should I start a whole airway practice? Like, how do I do that? We found that there are 3 ways. If you have a general restorative practice or a straight ortho practice, you can start talking about airway at any time as soon as you understand it. That's number 1. Number 2, you can create part of your schedule and part of your marketing, maybe a page on your website, and dedicate it to airway-friendly diagnostics and treatments. And then number 3, you can peel off the entire airway section of your business to a new entity and a new location. And we have clients that are in the process of doing all that. And the 4th way, which Carla and Loria Beyond Pediatric Dentistry did down in Texas, is you can start airway only from the ground up and grow from there. All 4 of those models we have found can be successful. A lot of it depends upon who you are and what you want to do. So I can't give you all of the answers here in 30 minutes. All you need to remember is that the 1 of your thought leadership plus the 1 of your brand identity equals 3 when it comes to marketing. That's all you need to know. And I will give you a high level, clear roadmap on what to do if you want what these providers on this former page have got, which is they have a pretty much predictable growth plan for the airway side of their practice or their airway practice. That doesn't mean it's all smooth sailing. Life is 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. There's no exception for these. My design team made this slide deck look perfect. It's beautiful so that it's easy on the eye, but growing an airway practice is challenging, although extremely rewarding in my experience. Okay, so I'm going to dispel 3 kind of myths that since I started with Bill Hang back 30 years ago have come up over and over again. The first one is that either internally you may think that you're just a dentist or an orthodontist, or your patients may think that you're just a dentist or an orthodontist, or your medical peers in the community may think that you're just a dentist or an orthodontist. The solution to that is to create thought leadership. Jim Bieneman in Denver is a great example of this. He's at on the first screenshot there on the right. He's Integrative Dental of Denver, plus he's got 3 other practices at this point. He started right out of school, went to a DSO, then took on an airway perspective, and now airway runs through all of his practices. He's a very successful guy. And what he does for thought leadership, please get this real quick. This is very simple. He created a branded, can you see that, Lauren?
Yep.
We keep this is not about pretty pictures. Very, very simple. Here's Jim up on the top. Here are the next 3 events where he's educating the local community of medical practitioners, manipulative practitioners, and adjunct or adjunctive therapists, myofunctional therapists, speech and language pathologists, etc. There's a very simple description of the event here, and then a form that can be filled that loads into a spreadsheet and connects to a constant contact emailer so that he can just continually bring people together 4 times a year and give them information that they otherwise wouldn't have, which promotes collaborative care and education of airway as a foundational diagnostic and treatment protocol that helps improve patient outcomes. So when we talk about thought leadership, that's the kind of stuff that we talk about. The other one here is the Colorado Prosthodontic Society. They came to us and asked us what they could do to help modernize themselves and give better education. We found some statistics for them. 50% of new dental school students now are women. That's from the ADA. According to the AHS Dental Network, 21% of those folks are going into DSOs. 49% of professionals, according to Deloitte, 18 to 29 have experienced burnout, and 38% of professionals 30 to 39 years old, according to Deloitte, have also experienced burnout. So what we suggested to them is that they pivot and do something that isn't usually expected of a continuing education organization and help some of these folks with mental health. So we put on a live event in Denver with 2 former dentists, who you can see on your screen here, who have both suffered from burnout. And we offered that experience to the folks who are coming up. They also want to grow their organization. They want young dentists who are going to have a well-balanced career, and they're skewing towards women because those are the majority of people who are coming out of dental school. They also are the majority of people who are leading the charge in airway. So thought leadership is really just about thinking outside of the box a little bit and willing to be true to who you really are. The board at CPS was very passionate about serving this new population of women who are coming into the profession and doing it in a way that wasn't just about getting better clinical outcomes with tools in their hands, but was about career longevity and what they call thriving in the long term. So I thought that was a really neat example of thought leadership. Myth number 2 is that your clinic is just a dental or orthodontic practice. And I've been hearing this since the beginning of time as well. What we have found and what we challenge our clients to do is to take a look at yourself more in the vein of a wellness boutique, a wellness clinic, a whole health center, those types of things. If we really believe that the airway is foundational to human health, and I believe there's a 3-legged stool. I've been doing a lot of work with nutrition, what I've been putting into my body, and exercise lately, but I've got a very compromised airway. So what I've noticed is there's only so much I can do to improve my health until I get the airway problem sufficiently addressed. And if we're really passionate about that with our patients and we're not trying to force anything onto them, we can really help them understand that your dental practice, your orthodontic practice can be a wellness center that can serve as a platform for an abundant and thriving health experience for themselves and their children for a long period of time to come. The other statistic, and I have a lot of data. My dad was a math teacher. I wanted to go to med school. You guys have all raised me over the last 30 years. I know how much I love data. This is a general statistic, but the majority of decisions being made to accept treatment plans in your offices and in most medical offices are being made by women. The target audience of an airway practice, generally speaking, is a 45-year-old woman who is anywhere from blue collar to very affluent, who has influence over the discretionary healthcare spending for the nuclear family and the expanded family. So she's the one we want. I have a good friend here in Westlake. Her name is Lavon. I think about her. She's my workout partner. I think about her all the time when I'm helping my clients market to their audience, because she's all about helping her kids stay out of hospitals and doctors' offices. And that's who we want connected to the practice, because they will embrace preventive therapies, even if we don't present them as preventive therapies. So what we want to do to kind of dispel the myth that we're just a dental office is, my experience is that the energetic investment that you make in your website should be in line with what you've made in yourself as a doctor, and what you've made in your office. If you just built a new office, it really does make a difference, even if it's unspoken, that the website is warm and inviting and shows the prospective patient that you really, really care about what's going on in your office. We see a lot, I meet a lot of incredibly dedicated practitioners a few times a week who there's just an enormous dissonance on what I'm seeing on their online presence. It's not even close to reflective of the amazing human beings they are and the amazing practitioners they are. So what we like to see specifically on a homepage, and what we found through our internal data, and we have about 50 airway focused websites on our servers at any given time, and we analyze all that data every month. What we have found that there are 3 pages where visitors spend the most of their time. The homepage is far and away what gets visited the most and where they spend the most time. Number 2 is about the doctor for new visitors. And then number 3 is the contact page. So if you have a website and you're not in a position to redesign the whole thing, maybe just to tune up on those 3 areas. The homepage, about the doctor, it really matters how you present yourself, and then the contact page. And then on the homepage, there's a list here. There should be a clear value proposition. Dr. Lori here on the right prides herself in that she takes care of one patient at a time. She does not chair hop. That's her value proposition. When you come into my office, you get me. It should have a visual focus. So you can see here, we've got before and afters. You can meet the doctor, you can meet patients. The features and benefits of what you do should be articulated on that homepage. There should be a single and focused, excuse me, call to action. What that means is in each section, what do you want them to do? Want them to call you, make an appointment, find more information, or go to another page so they can learn more. Testimonials work. The data is very, very clear on that. Visual, visual, visual. Although you are doctors, what you do affects how the face presents to the entire world, and it matters to your patients. And the last part is to make sure that you embrace storytelling. So it's not just a clinical expression of what you may or may not be doing, but you're helping patients understand that the situation they're in right now can change significantly if they embrace treatment with you, and their life experience after treatment can be infinitely more abundant than it is before they started treatment. Okay. The other, and I don't have time to go into a whole bunch of videos, but videos in my DNA. When I met Dr. Hang back in 1996, video was the first thing we did for him. I've produced probably tens of thousands of hours of video over the years at this point. Video is far and away the most consumed piece of content there is on the internet. YouTube is the second most trafficked platform in the world at this point. 37% of women 45 and under use TikTok, which is all video, as their primary search engine, right? They're not going to Google first. They're going to TikTok first to watch a video and then click through to the video to get a resource like you. So if you have not embraced a video yet, I would strongly recommend that you find a way to get 2 or 3 steps out of your comfort zone and start embracing video so that you can create video content that will educate your patients and reduce redundancy in your communication process, both before patients get to the office and while they're there and after they leave. So a lot of what we're doing now in our development here at MadRose is helping clients build what we call learning labs or resource centers, where there's a library of 20, 30, 40, 50 videos that answers pretty much every question they could ever ask, and also walks them through what the experience is going to be like when they embrace a procedure or a treatment, especially in the tongue tie world. So can't express enough how valuable video content is. I could do a 2-hour seminar on it, but to set yourself apart and present yourself as something other than just a dental or ortho office, you really want to take a look at how you can engage with video content to become relevant and modern in how you're marketing your practice. The last, and this is a big one I get all the time, the last myth is that you have to spend a lot of time and money on SEO, pay-per-click, and an overwhelming amount of social media posts in order to succeed. We have found that that is just not true. Now, if you are in the top 1%, like my good friend Lauren, and you wake up in the morning intuitively knowing exactly what to do to put a social media post up that's going to get engagement, like I think she just did right there and took a picture of the screen, right? Then by all means, and you can post 1, 2, 3 times a day, go ahead and do that and start to build out a presence in organic social media. I am not that personality. I'm a very, very good webinar giver. I do great with email marketing to get people into lunch and learns. We do well with advertising. We do well in trade shows. We do well in upgrading websites. I am not a daily social media guy, and we've been able to grow our business very, very successfully. The same is true of the practices that we work with. They pretty much every dentist or orthodontist I get on the phone with, when I ask about social media, they go, "Oh, we're terrible. We need social media." And my next question is, why do you say that? And the either expressed or implied answer is because the social media platforms have convinced me of that. It's not necessary to succeed. I'm not saying leave it out, but if you look at the big social media firms, they're some of the biggest corporations on the planet. The way they've gotten that big is not by getting you to post 3 videos per week. They've done it by selling advertising. And that advertising works, or they wouldn't be able to continue selling it. So if you're not a natural content creator, or you don't have the wherewithal to become a content creator, there are many, many other options that you can use to continue to grow your business. If you are a natural content creator and you do love performing and you have a myth for marketing like Lauren does, then by all means do it. It's a great way to connect with your audience, but you are not doomed to second place if you're not a content creator. Okay, enough. I gotta get off that soapbox. All right. On the left, fantastic example of, a 1 in 10, Maggie Graham and Liz Turner, who just rebranded Untethered Airway Health Centers. If you look at their feeds, they just get it. They're every bit right in Lauren's league. They just understand how to do it. They do it very, very well. They've got 5,000 followers. That's growing all the time. They post a couple times a week. They do a really, really good job. My blender, which we're going to get back to at the end of the presentation, also does really, really well with organic social media. If you want to do a blender follow Ninja Kitchen. I'm getting all kinds of great recipe ideas from them every morning when I make my shake. It's fantastic. If you go to Mad Rose or Peter Beckwith, you won't see any of this. Now, that doesn't mean someday we may not. I might do a podcast because I'm really good at that. But me doing things like Ninja does or like Maggie and Liz does is probably not going to happen anytime soon because I just don't have the wherewithal to stick with it. That doesn't mean I can't be successful. That just means there are other things that I can do. Okay, we also get a lot of questions about SEO, which is search engine optimization. There is a man named Neil Patel, who's one of the first kind of SEO guys that came along after Google started their search engine in the early 2000s. He does these little studies, sample groups of a few hundred people. Kind of an interesting one here. He compared the percentage of time spent in these different marketing exercises versus the percentage of revenue created by them. And over these 200 or 300 small businesses that he analyzed, they were spending an average of almost 40% of their time creating organic social media feeds, organic social media content. That translated into 2.3% of their revenue that they could track back to marketing activities. They were spending a little under 10% of their time or marketing budget on search engine optimization. That was getting them almost 20% of their revenue. They were spending 15% of their time and money on paid ads, and that was getting almost 24% of their revenue. So this little chart, it's a small sample size, just reinforces that there are more ways to do it than throwing a whole bunch of money at Google pay-per-click or spending a whole bunch of time getting yourself frustrated trying to create social media content if that's not an intuitive thing for you to do. What we have found is that, and what we call an omni-channel marketing campaign. So after the thought leadership is established, after the brand identity is well expressed, after the website and digital assets are prepared, and you have a warm and inviting place for prospective patients to go, there are a lot of options for you with regard to how to create traffic and build awareness over time. Dr. Hang's wife, Debbie, she's an only child. I think I'm the closest thing to a little kind of brother that she rolled her eyes about for 30 years that she has. Debbie taught me Bill Hang's success is not an accident, just like Ben's success is not an accident. Ben has Lauren, Bill had Debbie. Debbie taught me so much over the years. One of the things that she taught me was to be consistent and have a little bit of faith in your strategy. And over the years, as we were building content for YouTube and all this kind of groundbreaking stuff that we did on websites that had never been done before, we would succeed and then we would sometimes fail. And when we failed, I would want to quit because it felt so bad. And I'd go to Debbie's office and I'd say, hey, we just didn't get it right there. Maybe we should just throw in the towel. And she would say, no, we're not going to do that. We're actually going to see this through. We're going to analyze the results. We're going to find out what we did wrong, and then we're going to adjust and improve and keep moving forward. She very much saw marketing as an investment similar to any other financial investment, where if you just stay at it for a significant period of time, that it will pay off, and to not pay too much attention to the dips as you're going along. And that, she always amazed me that way, because it was her money we were losing when it wasn't going well. But she always hung in there. And over time, that practice became, as far as we know, one of the most successful on the business side, single practitioner orthodontic practices in the country. They were incredibly successful. And Debbie did that through consistency and learning through her mistakes and celebrating the wins. And we had a lot of wins over the years. Anyways, I talked about SEO. Google ads, i.e. pay-per-click advertising. In the airway space, we have not been able to prove out a model that shows a decent return on pay-per-click yet. I think we're going to be there on tongue ties and tethered oral tissue related terminology soon. I have not had a client we've been able to make that work with so far, but we're going to continue to try. Facebook and Instagram are very good platforms for creating local awareness. Their algorithms are very dialed into geofenced areas. So if you want to let the community know that you're there and you offer something a little bit different, those are very, very good, affordable platforms to do that, as long as expectations are reasonable. TikTok, as I told you, with women 45 and under, which should be your audience. I think that's the demographic on that TikTok stat. 37% of them, I forget the topped out age, but it's women. 37% of a certain demographic, a certain age group and down in women go to TikTok first for search. So that's a very interesting advertising opportunity there. And Pinterest is very, very skewed to mothers and women who are homemakers and family oriented. We've had a lot of success with Pinterest campaigns, specifically in the world of tongue tie. So I don't have time to go over what a campaign looks like, but you can grab a mix of all of this. The practice consultants and business gurus will tell you that somewhere between 4% of your monthly revenue after you're all built out should go to marketing. And you should be able to track that to track at least half of it, half brand awareness, the other half direct response, to see what you're paying for and how much you're paying for it. You should also have systems in place that allow you to track the clicks and the calls back to the front desk so that you can see how you're converting on those calls. Putting together a marketing campaign for a dental practice that's completely trackable and is paying off is a major undertaking that requires expertise, experience, time, and patience. I have not found a 30-day hit the switch, everything, we're never looking back strategy. We can get some progress in the early days, but it takes time to build. And again, if there were anybody who could do it, it would be me, because I love selling Airway. It's tricky, but if you stick with it and you're conservative in your investments, my experience is it absolutely will pay off over time. So, back to the blender before I wrap up for questions. The whole point of marketing through thought leadership and brand awareness, it's what they did with this blender. It was on the shelf and it was there if I wanted it, and they didn't force it on me. They said, hey, listen, here's what's a little bit different about our blender. Here are some other things you can do with our blender that you can't do with other blenders. But it wasn't screaming at me, buy 10% off if you buy now, and here's 4 bonuses and they're free, but only if you do it today. It was a very attraction versus promotion type of sale. My experience in healthcare in general, but specifically in my line of work, which is airway related, is that type of an approach works. That doesn't mean we don't express confidence to a patient when we believe that what we have for them will help them, but it's very much, this is who I've become. This is what I believe. This is what I'm passionate about. Here's the experience that I've got, and here's an outcome I think I can help you achieve. If you find that attractive, I would love to embrace a collaborative care program with you that empowers you to get healthier. And if you want to do that, I'm willing to go on that journey with you. In the early days, when I was just working for Dr. Hang and he had his BioBlock orthotropics mini residency, what we used to talk about in the marketing day, this is almost 20 years ago, the number one predictor of whether practitioners would be successful in facial growth guidance techniques, which is now everywhere. Back then, when only a few people were doing it, was patient selection. That was the number one predictor of success, is how well are you picking your patients. I don't believe that's changed. And this marketing approach is all about inviting them into your world, asking them questions, allowing you to get to know them, and then suggesting treatment plans to patients that you believe are going to do their part to get a positive outcome. Because in the world of airway, at least with my practitioners anyway, if you don't have a cooperative patient that wants to get healthier, you're going to struggle to make that case work. Even it doesn't matter if we're doing, fixed bonded expanders, and you can only do so much with a non-compliant patient. And this marketing approach is designed to attract patients that want to get better. People like me, I want to get better. I'm going to wear the CPAP. I don't want to go to Texas for the sleep study, but I'm going to do it. I don't want to drink shakes twice a day to lose the weight, but I'm going to do it because I want to get better. And the women in my life, including both of my daughters, are pushing me to do that because they want me in the care of practitioners who are going to empower me to take care of my health as I get into the last, third of my life. So again, if a blender can do it, you can too. And your 3 takeaways, and these are the things that, I hope you really kind of think about as you leave. Number 1 is that website. If for whatever reason you don't have the wherewithal to, if your website's 5, 7, 10 years, even 3 years old, and you haven't, spruced it up in a while, I strongly encourage you to take a look at that. The 3 places that you really want to focus on are the homepage, which again, if you stay to the end, I can give you an analysis on where you are and aren't hitting the marks on that. About the doctor. If you think about the amount of time, energy, and money you've spent becoming the practitioner that you are, even just if you've taken Ben's courses, the amount of time, energy, money that costs, that about page should reflect that kind of excellence and commitment and passion you have for patient outcomes. And then the contact page. You need to be easy to find, easy to connect with, and easy to submit a form to. I would really suggest you think about embracing video content to educate, qualify, and reduce redundancy inside of all of your communication systems. Takeaway number 2, study clubs. Start with once or twice a year. Have an annual event. You can partner with Lauren. She can, sorry, I don't mean to speak for you, Lauren, but
That's okay. I'm happy to help.
like this, okay? People who understand how to put people in a room together and just sponsor something so that your peers your medical peers in the community can start to see you as something other than just a dentist or an orthodontist. And then finally, when it comes time to start marketing the practice digitally, remember that whoever you are and whatever road you decide to go down is perfectly okay. You don't have to be a social media star. You don't have to spend $40,000 a month on a pay-per-click campaign. You can come up with an omni-channel strategy that gets to the people you want to talk to, which generally is the 45 and under women, blue collar, all the way up to affluent, who are in charge of the discretionary healthcare spending for their family systems. And you can do that in a way that's going to work for you so that you can keep dialing in over time and see success in the long term. Again, if you're here at the end, or Lauren, you can offer this to anybody you want. If you send me your website link, I will send back an email with an analysis of these 7 key points and how you're doing on hitting those. And then also you can book through Greg a 1-hour strategy call with me, where I'll ask you a set of questions in the first half hour and give you some very specific and actionable tips in the second half hour to do some things in the office or with your existing assets that you can do in-house that will not cost you any money or time, just quick tweaks that can get you moving in the right direction.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for all your tips and your offer. I hope everyone takes advantage of this. I do want to see if Greg wants to come off mute as a general manager. Greg, were there any points that you feel you wanted to highlight, stress, or anything you wanted to add? Because I know you have a wealth of expertise as well.
Yeah, if I was going to really comment on one thing, because Peter covered so much and I listened to this on a regular basis, I think one thing, then this always jumps out at me, because this is the one thing I go into Peter's office every day and harp to him for just our own internal practices. You're talking about the experience when you go into Debbie's office when things don't exactly go as planned, and it's, stay the course, stay the course. And this is, I go into Peter's office every day with the same 3 words: consistency, consistency, consistency. So if you're doing all these things, whether it's with Madrose, you're doing it with another marketing company, your nephew who just graduated college, or you're doing it on your own internally in your practice, there's a lot of different ways to get to the promised land. Some of them work, some of them don't. When you find the stuff that works, stay consistent with it. And when they don't, it's time to maybe reevaluate and pivot a little bit. But that the story with Debbie, it rings true with the consistency message that I try to continually relay here internally, and it works.
Great, thank you. There are a few questions, and if anyone participating live here, you can use the Q&A section to ask your question. We're happy to help you. But some submitted their questions earlier, and one that I'm also curious about is how would you suggest starting with internal marketing with existing patients and their family members?
That's a great question. You know, two ways. Number one, who do you want to talk to and why do you want to talk to them? Those are super important questions. It's one of the things that we do at Madrose with our clients, and we learn this based on what the dentist taught us. If I was to come into your practice and sit down in your chair and said, okay, I want my mouth reconstructed. What is step one? Step one is we need to do diagnostics and a very, very detailed treatment plan that's going to take me through palatal expansion, through jaw pain, in my case, through jaw surgery, then restorative, and then maintenance and retention. So that's going to be a big part of it. So before we just, it's the same thing. We have docs call all the time. Can you market my practice? I don't know. I don't know what the problems are. So I think number one, the best first thing you could do is identify the problem well. Who is it you want to talk to and what do you want to say to them and why? So as an example, if you want to talk to mothers 45 and under and tell them that we can get ahead of airway problems with their children, and that if we don't, the children could run into similar health problems that the mothers are having. And we want to do that because we want to stop that cycle of disease in family systems. Now we just take the simple tools. Marketing number one is, are you having that conversation with every mother that walks into your practice, even though it feels uncomfortable? Are you using your internal patient management systems to send text messages that might have a video connected to it? Not a lot, once a quarter at the most, so they don't unsubscribe, saying, hey, listen, here's some of the things we're doing at our practice that might be able to help your family. Are you partnering with your patient management system to get an email list? And if you can do it internally or find a company like ours that can connect you to an email server, sending out a newsletter twice a year or even once a year that says, here's what's new in airway for kids. And because this is what we are most passionate about. So I think, think like a doctor, diagnose the problem, come up with a treatment plan, and then execute to the outcome.
Excellent. There's a question in the chat here. As a business practice, have you found more success with offices that have the more boutique style of having an SLP, body worker, et cetera, in-house as well?
I would not say that we have found that they have more success. I would say the common denominator on successful practitioners is that they have a network of collaborators that allow them to present a multidisciplinary treatment plan to their patients. Whether some of those collaborators are in-house or out-of-house really is more personality dependent and dollars and cents dependent. We've had some clients who have started with the therapeutic practitioners in-house. That overhead didn't work for them, and then they established relationships outside of the practice. We've had practices going the other direction, and we've had hybrids. The key is the relationships. That's why we pound the drum so much on that study club. Get in front of these people and let them know what you're doing and invite them into a collaborative multidisciplinary approach to better patient outcomes. And then those other questions will answer themselves. And what I noticed in these first two questions, which we see all the time, is make sure we take steps in order. Step one is, who do you want to partner with and why? Step two is, do we want them out of house or in-house? That why is super, super important. Why are you trying to do this? Is it economic? Is it patient outcome related? Is it fear-based? Is it ambition-based? Why are you doing this? And if you get down to your why being, I want to have a positive impact on the maximum number of people, then your decision tree will take you to the answer to that question naturally. You won't have to overthink that.
Great, thank you. And what ways do you suggest an SLP, speech language pathologist, connects with dentists and orthodontists to have collaboration and consider having the practitioner come in to start a myo screening in their office that is not yet airway focused? So the bottom line is, how do you get doctors who are not airway focused become airway focused as part of the collaborating partner?
Oh, boy. Yeah. And if I had an answer to that one, we could fly everybody online in a private jet to the Four Seasons across the street here in LA, and I could pay for all of it. That's a tough one. I think uh, humility and
I'll
patience.
chime in actually. If you want, I
Okay.
can chime in just from what I've heard is really utilizing the ADA brochure. And that's just gold. I think the
Right.
pediatric airway health brochure is wonderful. And if you can use that to the dentist, that this is something that's no longer optional. The screening is actually kind of sanctioned by the ADA, kind of puts them up on call and curious at least. And then perhaps you can even lead them to our website for these conversations with the experts. So you don't have to be the ones telling them. Go to the foundations of airway health, Children's Airway First Foundations, Airway Revolution. They have a wealth of information that's free. And maybe it's better coming from a one-on-one expert. It may resonate a little bit more deeply.
Yes, that's a fantastic idea. In the perspective from which I took that probably is the hardest thing we all have, is convincing people that aren't yet ready to be convinced. So first, number one, qualify your audience. Who are the practitioners in your area that are open-minded, and start with them. And if you're a myofunctional therapist or an SLP, and you are in a position to run a very, very low cost but fun event, go to a local restaurant and, one drink ticket, and we're going to come and just have a good time, and start with, maybe you don't even start with the doctors. Maybe you start with the hygienists and the folks at the desk. And I'm going to give a 15-minute presentation on what you can do for Airway for your clients. And we're going to have a ton of fun. And maybe it's, something you're great at, Lauren, is a themed party. So to Greg's point of consistency, I show up at the office, maybe there's 25 people, and I show up at those offices once a month with the resources that you just talked about, and also talk about the event. I always like giving them something instead of just, being a taker. I want to give them something. So here are some resources. That really is still a little bit of a sales pitch. And oh, by the way, we're going to have a Labor Day costume party, whatever it is. I stink at those things. You're great at it. So as you touch them those 6 times, the live event is number 7. And maybe some of the team members would say, hey, to the doc, hey, why don't we just go have a drink over at XYZ restaurants tonight, and take a look at what she's saying. She's been here 6 times in the last 6 months, or he's been here 6 times in the last 6 months. Seems like they're really passionate. What can it hurt? And then, you start to build your relationships that way. It only takes one solid referral relationships to launch a myofunctional therapy practice.
Wonderful. And have you had any experience with multi-location practices in a single region trying to do airway in each practice, or have you seen a hub and spoke style of center work better?
Yes and yes. We have a practice up in Bend, Oregon, that is early in their airway development, that is bringing consistency to their offerings in all 3 of their offices. And then Jim Bieneman in Denver is a little bit more hub and spoke. So again, I think that that's the second question. The first question is, what is the problem? What do you want to do, and why? So if you're multi-location and you only have one airway practitioner, and it's you that's in the hub, and the spokes don't offer that, your problem is getting the airway message out to all the offices. And then why do you want to do that? Do you want to do that because you want to give the best care personally? That would be Bill Heng's approach. Or do you want to get the airway message out to the maximum number of people? That would be the approach of the folks up in Bend, Oregon. So it can work either way. From what I've seen, it really is about an intentional strategy to get from point A to point B with the end game in mind.
Do you recommend using referral forms to different providers to assist in awareness? And if so, do you have advice in creating these or examples?
Sure. Yes, I think they should be well branded and consistent. And then what was the second part of the question?
Well, the first was, do you recommend using referral forms, and do you have advice in creating these or examples of them?
Yes, I do believe in using referral forms. We have practices that do them both physical and online. The key is I think the question that you want to ask is, what is easiest for your main referral partners? What do they want? And why? And again, why do they want that? So a referral form can be a great marketing tool if it's designed for ease of use and adds value for the referring partner. If you think about what a referral relationship is all about, if somebody refers their patient to you, that's a reflection on them. So that referral form should be part and parcel to that relationship. If that referral partner is comfortable with giving a little bit more information, then it should have some extra questions, which will allow you to be more informed when the patient gets to you, which adds value to your referral partner and sending that person to you because you're prepared. If your referral partner is kind of a run and gun sort of person, then you want to have the minimum amount and spend more time with their patient when they get to you. So when they go back, they'll say, wow, that myofunctional therapist really took a lot of time to get to know me. So it's really about, adding value to the relationship in a way that works for the referral partner. There's also nothing wrong with having a short form, long form referral sheet.
Does Mad Rose Media train the front office on how to receive the calls?
We do not.
Okay.
We do not. It's something, we've had internal conversations about that, and I'm not saying it's something that we won't add down the road, but right now we're very, very focused on what we call the initial build, which is rebranding the video content, the websites, and elevating that, and then getting that omni-channel marketing campaign working consistently. And when we have that done, when we have those two things really consistently dialed in across 50 or more practices, then we may consider partnering with somebody who can help us with that, and we may offer it, but we don't at this point.
And then Steve Carstensen wants to know, should we hire one of those sign spinner guys to stand on the corner with tongue in cheek, of course.
You should hire Steve Carstensen to teach you how to do sleep medicine, because he's the best in the business. That's my answer to that.
And he's with us today, so thank you for that chuckle. I think, any other questions from our participants today? Anything else? Well, you did a fabulous job. I love the simplicity of it. Again, how can they get in touch with you?
Oh, geez, I didn't put that on here. Greg, if you want to get the homepage analysis or the strategy or have questions for us, it's greg@madrosemedia.com, and then he can put his phone number in that in the chat as well.
Okay, so we'll also send that up in the follow-up email as well.
Yep.
So this way it's easy to access.
And if they do want to, sorry, Lauren, if they do want to talk to me directly, Greg will facilitate that. He's first, because they keep me scheduled as tightly as the doctors are scheduled.
All right, so Greg, I'm going to give the floor. What's the best way to get in contact with you?
So as he said, greg@madrosemedia.com, or you can call me on my cell, 973-738-0978, and I'm going to put it up here in the chat.
Yeah, go ahead. Go put that in the chat. That's helpful. And then I just wanted to share some updates as well before we close out. I'm going to take Peter's advice and just kind of go through this really quickly, because you guys all know how to locate me. But we do have a summer semester, and I think a lot of times people have the downtime, so we are offering our on-demand, so you can do it at your pace, and we're offering discounts on all of our courses throughout the summer, so feel free to set up a call with me to see what's a great fit. But I did want to highlight our live virtual course that is August 2nd with Dr. Susan Maples. I'm really excited about this, and in fact, we're going to have a live Facebook tomorrow and Instagram with Dr. Maples to learn more about that, so stay tuned to hear about this course coming directly from Dr. Maples, because she's a wealth of information and can help you and your team really help to implement and integrate Airway. Kind of our starter course, if you want to get started along our journey, would be Dr. Moralia's mini residency. And from there, you can go to our advanced mini residencies, including Dr. Ben, as well as Dr. Kevin Boyd with his Fix Under 6. These are all technique courses telling you how to integrate airway health dentistry. If you want to learn more about sleep apnea, there's no better way than to learn, I think, from Dr. Dave McCarty. He's a sleep specialist, and he just really simplifies and unpacks the complexity of sleep apnea like no one else. So that's also available on demand, and we will be running more live editions over their fall and winter semester. So stay tuned for that. We do have our intro course beginning. If you want to mark your calendars for October 30th, we have been sold out for the last two myo courses. So we're really thrilled about that, and just the interest that the hygienists and SLPs have in integrating myofunctional therapy. So thank you for your support there. And we also have our mini myology course, which is a wonderful course really focusing on under 5 or under 6, if you would, to really keen in on those exercises to make it fun for you and for the children as well. We hope we see everyone at Collaboration Cures. That's in Reno. That's September 12th to the 14th. Peter and Greg will be there. Greg is my fellow Pulmonaut as well. So we look forward to not only showing up, but playing for you all. So that'll be real fun. So check us out there. It's going to be great. And I believe we do have a coupon code that we will send in the follow-up email as well for $200 off. So stay tuned for that. And please save the date for our Airway Palooza 2025. We are so excited for this. It's October 17th and 18th in Fort Lauderdale on the beach. It's going to be fabulous with the top experts. We'll announce our lineup shortly, not too shortly, but I wanted everyone to save the date at least so we can be there. It's a great time and you will learn a lot and there's a lot of camaraderie. So hopefully we'll see you and save the date for that. The Children's Airway First Foundation has the resources, as I mentioned, as well as the Foundation for Airway Health. So please check those out. We do have the recordings of our last year's Palooza available on our website, and that goes to our sponsor, Children's Airway First Foundation. All proceeds go directly to that. If you wanted to catch our last Palooza, it's all there, which is great for Team Learns, Lunch and Learns, that you can kind of dissect and really have fun listening to the experts. So that is a wrap. I think there may be a couple of questions in the chat. The chat's disabled, so we will send the contact information with our follow-up email. Sorry about that, but Greg, say your contact info one more time so we can get that.
It's Greg at madrosemedia.com.
Perfect. Oh, and you know why, Greg? Because I think you put it in the hosts and panelists. So let's just put that in the chat for everyone instead. That would be, let me see if I can copy and paste it, but you can do that. And meanwhile, Peter, are there any closing thoughts? Because I know people are kind of always on the fence about should I stay or should I go now? You know, what's the kind of deciding factor? What's your last closing word?
My experience, and it's been a long time. I started in 1996. There's good news and better news here. The good news is that becoming an airway focused practitioner will challenge you in ways that you've never been challenged before. And the better news is that everything that's been promised to you as far as having an impact on patient lives, you'll experience that times 100, and that what you see in the mirror every day as you go on the journey will be better than anything you ever could have imagined. So the short is what I've, and I've worked with hundreds of these folks over the years, is that they always get surprised at how much more challenging it is than they suspected. And they always get surprised by how much character they've built as a result of doing it. And they always get surprised by the impact that they've had on their communities, their practices, and themselves as a result of embarking on the journey. So I would 100% suggest that if you're on the fence, you get on the airway side, because it is absolutely, in my very practical experience in meeting people like you, is absolutely 100% worth it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's always good seeing you, Peter and Greg. We really appreciate your expertise and sharing it with everyone today. Everyone, you will get your CE certificate emailed to you in about a week's time. So please be patient, because we do have a lot of signups today, over 100. So congratulations, guys, on that nice attendance for our Lunch and Learn. And we'll keep doing this as long as you guys keep showing up. So thank you for your passion and thank you for your commitment to airway health. And we're in this together. So let's use each other's resources. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, Lauren.
Bye. Thank you.